very rim of known space, justice is a long way away.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
Going for broke?
Your co-host, Julie.
Hello from the unseasonably warm north.
Oh, what is it over there right now?
It's like upper 50s right now.
Yeah, I went to Minnesota once in December, and we were loaded for bear. We thought it was going to be freezing, and it was like in the high 50s, low 60s, and this was 20 years ago. And they were like, "Oh, sudden heat wave." Like, wow.
Yeah. Right now we're usually knee deep in snow, but you know.
Well, it's called global warming for a thing, or climate change if you don't want to call it global warming, but it's global warming. Come on, let's be honest. Your co-host, Thorsten?
I still have connection. I can't believe it.
Jacob wasn't feeling great today, so we're not entirely sure if he's going to be joining us. Hopefully he feels better regardless. And your co-host, David?
Trying to warm myself up with a cup of tea here. It's freezing.
Oh, what is it over there?
And this morning we had 14 degrees minus Celsius. So,
God.
I'm a little bit unsure what is in your degrees, so yeah.
That's because Illinois sent their cold weather to Sweden. I'm sorry for that.
You've walked in on Weathercast, the podcast within a podcast, where we check in on the weather across the world before we talk about video games. No, we're not.
Yeah, something like that.
So, friends, today's topic is okay. So when I came up with this topic, because for a while you may remember our good friend Thorsten here. He was without internet for how long were you without internet for? A couple months? Few months?
About 7 weeks.
Yeah, that's 7 weeks too long. I would go crazy.
Oh yes.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I would go absolutely bananas. I don't know how you survived. I don't know if I would. I've been hooked on to the internet since 1980 something, and I think 86. 87 was when I got my first modem, somewhere around there. Yeah, I don't know how you did it. Well, power to you, man. I don't know how you did it. So in the wake of that, my friends, we thought, hey, let's talk about, offline gaming. And my original thought is come up with games that you should have on hand, if your internet goes out, because we all have outages every now and again. Our internet goes out, for whatever reason, a tree falls down or whatever else, something happens that our internet goes out. Hopefully for not too long. And Thorsten was like, no, let's broaden this a bit to a more general topic of online DRM and games that require an online connection. And I'm like, why the hell not? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to broadly, a little more broadly than originally intended, talk about not only games with an online requirement, but the problems that can arise from even something as seemingly benign as the online DRM of Steam. Now, a good example of this, Julie, you had a good example of this with a friend of yours. If you want to. I think this is a great example to start with. So why don't you go?
Well, the deal is this, and this extends out of two experiences I've had. One when I spent a month in the desert. Granted, not by choice. I was wearing OD green, so you get to acquire friends who are in the military, and whenever time somebody doesn't. Like we talked offline, it's not a direct slap in the face of the military, but kind of out of the way slap. And even if there are games that do not require an internet connection, there are a lot of games like EA games that require you to initially set it up. And so what this means is if you are like in a month in the desert, or if you're a more importantly, as the particular individual I spoke with was a sailor at sea. Now, granted, this was I I don't know what destroyers and aircraft carriers are not. Now, my experience goes in the military goes back a couple of days, as a couple of months, decades. Sorry, as does the whole story. But the sailor in question said the problem he had is just like that, when he was out at sea, even if the games just required the initial connection, and this was a lot of games at the time, he couldn't play anything, so the ship he was on had computers, but it just prevented him from playing any of his favorite games.
Yeah, that sounds enormously frustrating. Like if you have your own machine and it needs internet somehow. Like they probably do. Do we know if military ships have Wi-Fi on them these days?
I don't know. I do know when I was in the desert and there was no anything. I don't know now, but at the time there wasn't. So my solution was, if I was in the desert, I was going to pick something incredibly appropriate to read, and I read the entirety of Dune while I was in the desert. It felt appropriate.
That's
Great.
might I ask when that was, if you don't mind sharing? When did you spend that time in the desert?
Sure, it was 80s, and I have to do a quick little side tangent, a shout out to my LT, because back in the day, the year before, somebody had rolled over some soldiers, and it was a tank in the rear area. I was in the rear area. So a superior officer who was in command of a tank battalion tried to go through the rear area where I was stationed. Our LT walked out in the middle of the road, Tiananmen Square like, held up his hand and made the superior officer turn his tank around and get out of the rear area. And so I'm surprised his testicles fit back inside his tent afterwards.
Oh yeah, so internet was hard to get by in the 80s. So I'm not surprised. I am not surprised at all. My grandparents actually invested in a second phone line for the house because I was online, quote unquote online, so much back then on bulletin board systems. I'm aging myself, but
so those of us who are old enough remember.
Whoa! What just happened?
The modem sound.
Oh,
the modem sound.
God, yeah. I guess when you were trying to imitate the modem sound, the mic cut out because we just heard like half a thing. So that's kind of funny that the microphone was like, "Nope, this is too loud."
It was, and that was it. Whenever you were trying to, and everybody's saying, "Come on, get off the phone. I got to use the phone. I'm in the middle of a game."
Oh man, yeah. No, I got into a lot of trouble sometimes being on the BBS for so long. So I guess, see, I'm online so much I don't notice this problem with the DRM, but I can imagine if you rely more on a cellular connection that has maybe a data limit, or your internet cuts out. Like I can imagine it be like. I was wondering about that, Spaz. Thank you. I will contact Restream about the bot. I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, so Thorsten, when you were offline for those 7 weeks, I was going to use the word horrid 7 weeks. I don't want to. I didn't want to. It couldn't have been good, but I didn't want to, add a word to it like that. But did you have a problem launching some games via Steam?
Oh yes, sadly yes. And I've got to circle it in a bit, because it was mostly games that were from great developers like Electronic Arts and something like that, and that wasn't really great, to be honest. Many of those games do obviously need a constant internet connection. I don't know for what. I don't want to know for what, to be honest. Because it was clearly said that I wanted to play offline, and that wasn't a great experience, to be honest.
Oh, well, so that could be a whole nother podcast. And I think we have talked about this, about the trend of games as a service. And
yeah, I guess that's an apple to pick for this show. And I want to keep it in
no, that's
in
fair.
line with us.
But even games that aren't a service, like, there should be a way to, like, God, I don't think even Steam does this, where it's like I want to play this game. Oh, we can't connect. Hey, I'm temporarily offline. Can we connect? Can we play right now and then try to connect in a day or two? But I don't even think Steam does anything like that. I think it's all or nothing, right? Like with its DRM check.
It depends.
It depends, right?
Okay.
As I said, it depends.
Yeah.
Some games work pretty well. One current example is for example Spaceborne 2, which worked excellent without any connection.
Oh, good.
While others refused to start up.
Oh, crap.
So to clarify for Brian here, it does depend with Steam DRM. If you've recently launched the game in online, while you are online, the DRM check passes because it doesn't have to check every single time.
Right.
But if there has been a while since you've launched the game and now you're offline, that's when it tends to kick in, because it has been a while and it's trying to make sure that it's still a legitimate game. However, some games are completely DRM free, even if you do own them on Steam.
Like
and Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is a good example, because
like the recently
that game
released,
was released.
like the recently released Starfleet 2, if I may just jump in for a minute.
Yeah, or Rebel Galaxy Outlaw,
Yes,
which
Rebel
was released
Galaxy.
DRM free.
Yes.
Yeah, but that game will work regardless of where you own it, and you can launch it directly from within your operating system rather than having to go through Steam.
And
so I think that's the key thing, is any game that can be launched directly from the EXE, instead of having to open Steam in order to do the DRM check, it'll just open the game, then you're golden. But that's a trend that's going away.
Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, it's funny you bring that up, was going to be on my list when we were going to have a list show of one of the games you should have installed for when your internet goes out, because that is one you could kind of play forever, really, and never need an internet connection, you know.
Actually,
and it's DRM free, and yeah, it would have been on my list too.
Yeah, and mine either. It's that was one of the examples of the games I wanted to state here, because it's first, it's a great game, and second, it works without the connection, while others I won't mention the name of the game, but it's 8 years old, and it didn't work.
You can mention the name of the game. People should know.
I don't want.
No, go ahead.
I don't want to.
All right.
I don't want to.
I mean, I would think it'd be good for people to know that, oh, this game might not work if I try to run it offline, you know, for informational purposes. You still don't want to? That's okay. That's okay.
Again, it was by one of the big publishers, and wow, that was a shocking experience, to say at least. You'll have to tell me which game later, because now I'm insanely curious. Or type it in the green room or something, so only we could see it. Yeah.
But like, there are a lot of games I love playing that are online only, like Inquisitor, for example. Inquisitor, you know, my favorite ARPG is. They have promised at some point an offline only mode. I don't know how, but they did it with Van Helsing, their previous ARPG. I think we'd miss a lot if they made it offline only, but oh, okay. I now see the game that you're talking about. That is surprising. That is surprising.
That was pretty shocking, and I really wanted to play it, and
Well, you
it refused.
you might be better off playing the original 2005 version of that one, which is, I feel, a better game anyway.
Well, in that case, it's because that's a publisher thing.
Yeah,
They have DRM on all their games, so that you can't really. I don't think you could do it that way. There's no. Yeah, it's always going to do a DRM check, I think, because of the way that publisher puts out their games.
and you know what's kind of sad? I'm running into more and more of this thing on a handheld as well. Like I'm running into this on the Switch. I know, Julie, hang tight. But I've got several games on the Switch that require an internet connection now, and it's like, you're a handheld device primarily. Well, maybe to some people it's not, but to me, it's I only play in handheld, and there are times where it's like, I want to play this racing game. Oh, I can't because it needs an internet connection. It's like, who thought this was a good idea on a handheld? Like,
well, I think there's an assumption that even if you are playing it in a handheld mode, you're going to have access to Wi-Fi.
yeah, it's just frustrating. I mean, I could use my phone as a tether, I guess, like a hotspot, I guess, but like, it still seems silly. Like I could take my 3DS XL anywhere and not have to worry. Like, I mean, I think there are some games for that thing that might have needed an online connection, but like for the most part, I could play just about any game on that damn thing with no internet at all. And but with the Switch, even with the Switch now, it's becoming more and more of an online thing, which is just really frustrating to me, to be completely honest. Because like I don't, as much as I live on the internet, I'm not always in a place with an internet connection. Like the cruise I was just on. Do you know how much money it costs on a freaking cruise if you want to use the internet? A lot. It's if you want unlimited internet.
They know that people will pay because it's a captive audience.
Yeah, no, they do. But they charge, like, if you want unlimited internet for the week, it is $200 something a person. Not a room. Not a room. No, not a cabin. A person. So,
Oh wow!
so like, I eventually paid for it, but my wife and I would switch off. You know, like, I'm going to use the internet now. Okay. Oh, I can't use the internet for like an hour because Brian's using it. So it's kind of, but they know they have us. You know, they know they have us. It's really frustrating.
There was one case that was like that, and I won't say the name of the big hotel chain, but I've stayed at it a lot, and they got themselves in trouble for blocking internet ports because of the
What?
issue. Yeah, with the FCC, and
Oh,
and if you're interested which chain it was, you can always private message.
did it rhyme with Baladay Finn? Did it rhyme?
No.
Okay.
No, it did not. It was not Baladay Finn. It was another. It was not that cheap. It was a really nice hotel chain.
Wow.
And I was very surprised. And because my solution to what you just mentioned was, we have, for this very reason, on our phones, unlimited text and data, so it can run up as much as it possibly wants. And so, if I'm on my Switch and there's no other Wi-Fi, even if there is, I don't trust public Wi-Fi, and I would rather just use my phone as a data port.
Yeah, friends, don't trust public Wi-Fi. If you can use your phone as a hotspot, you're probably better off security-wise. Let's just say that. Public Wi-Fi is scary.
If you don't mind having your identity stolen, which has happened to us twice.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
What?
Well, it gets out various different ways. Once was because of a Russian hacking group, but
Damn.
I'm very conscious of that because my employer, we're hammered at constantly by
Right, I bet.
hacking attempts.
Jeez Louise. Do you guys wait? Let me just ask. Do you have unlimited like hot tethering, like hotspot? Do you have unlimited hotspot too?
We pay for unlimited anything.
Oh wow! All right.
Absolutely everything, and it was through. Originally, it was through. I think it was like Walmart. One of those big stores had a deal a long time ago with. I forget which service was. I'm not the one who set it up, but yeah, it was a special deal they had, and we kind of said, "Yeah, that's for us." And so now we pay for unlimited anything, and I use it like a lot.
Oh wow! Because for my plan, for T-Mobile at least, you have to pay extra if you want unlimited. Like we get a certain amount of data with our tethering, with our hotspot, but I keep calling it tethering. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, we have to be extra, like I said, but
Wow.
considering how much we use it,
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. My wife has actually inquired about it because the Wi-Fi at her school sites are terrible. So we might actually go that route soon ourselves. Yeah, so that's a shame. It's kind of a shame though that so many games have this DRM requirement, and I get it, but shouldn't there be a way around it temporarily at least? Like, hey, check back in a week. You know, if like, because my internet is temporarily down, I still want to play this, but I can't have. I don't have online. I don't have internet right now. Can you check back in like 3 days or something? It's just kind of frustrating that there isn't a contingency plan. It's like, especially in America, our internet connections aren't the most stable in the world. They're not great. They're not terrible, but you know, American internet is kind of finicky.
And also keep in mind that there are areas of the country in which there is no internet, regardless of whether or not you have paid for service. You know, there's still plenty of places in which, let's keep this in mind, the telecom companies have a monopoly in anything but name, and so
we don't have net neutrality.
The only game in town. Yeah, because we don't have net neutrality, they are the only game in town, and the other companies have agreements with them to not overstep into their territory. So if the internet is terrible in your area, and they're the only game in town, effectively speaking, there's no reason for them to innovate and increase the quality of service.
Nope. Did you hear about Korea? Like South Korea? Like apparently they don't have net neutrality either, apparently. And it's gotten so bad, like Twitch is like refusing to broadcast in South Korea because the internet situation.
They're shuttering their operations in South Korea as of February. And it is because the telecom companies there want them to pay extra.
Oh my God.
for all of the traffic that is being created by all the Twitch streaming that is happening.
That is
insane. Considering the esports,
I was gonna say esports. What the hell? That's like their thing. Like a huge deal over there, isn't it? Like a massive. It's like almost like regular sports over here. Well, not regular sports, but non-esports over here. Isn't it like that big over there?
Esports are huge.
Yeah.
In South Korea. They're worth billions. And not just in the people who are participating in any of the contests, any of the competitions, but also the fact that there's merch, there's ad-sponsored deals, there's all sorts of stuff that gets bundled in with all of that.
Oh, I didn't know this, but Relay is saying, Really? I don't know I hope I pronounced it correctly. It's saying that South Korea has locally owned streaming services as well. Like really? Okay. Thank you. I didn't know that. but they're charging Twitch 10 times as wow. That's terrible. I'm sorry, South Korea.
But they don't have net neutrality, so
wow.
Yeah.
God, I was really hoping we might have net neutrality by now that we have a different administration, but nope.
And well, you can thank Comcast for that.
Yeah, no, I can thank Comcast for a lot of things, apparently. Oh, don't you love late stage capitalism? Anyway, I know I do. Yay. Anyway, so I like I said, I mean, maybe this is something we should suggest to, like, okay, so do they have the same kind of DRM that Steam does, where they do a occasional check? I'm not as familiar with Epic.
Certain. I am not certain, but I think it may depend on the game. Like, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw does not have any sort of DRM.
Yeah, but they have a lot of Ubisoft games over there, which of course would.
If it's Ubisoft, then it would have a DRM check almost certainly. Or if it's EA, then almost certainly they would. But for some of the other stuff, it depends, and I think it's situational. Because, as I said, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw doesn't do a DRM check, but if the game is there DRM free, then it's DRM free, period.
Now, what about?
I think GOG would be a better bet.
I was just about to bring up GOG. I was just about to ask, because even though they have that Galaxy client and everything, I don't think their games require. I mean, that's their big deal, is no DRM. And they have offline installers for everything. So I would think them, and maybe Itch would also be a good oh, we could see you, really. It's just, we're in the conversation. I think Itch would also be a good, like, if you have an offline. But you can put DRM games on Itch if you want. I didn't know that. I thought Itch was also a DRM free type of thing, but Itch is also about developer freedom. Sorry, go ahead, Thorsten.
I haven't encountered any game on Itch that didn't work. So they are always have some kind of offline option or at least startup.
Yeah,
I would assume that if it's something you started up once, then with anything that's on Itch that has DRM probably does the check on the first time you launch it, and then you're probably okay afterward.
Yeah. Epic, on the other hand, is a bit problematic, and that's mostly because of the company you mentioned already. Ubisoft is a bit weird in that regard. And any Ubisoft game I know does counter check and doesn't work offline. At least it didn't work. It didn't work on my computer.
Yeah, I think Ubisoft and EA are probably the worst at this. This kind of, I want to play a game without an internet connection. Too freaking bad. Oh well. Unless you want to go back in our library 20 years, good luck with that.
I mean, you just have to get a look at what's going on here. You pay 50, 60, or maybe even more dollar for a game, and then you can play it when you've got an outage. I mean, that's not great.
No, and it's frustrating because, like, a lot of games have an online. Like, it's kind of funny. I finished Cyberpunk recently, and I was looking for a new online. I mean, not online, open game to tackle. And someone's like, "Have you played Mad Max?" I'm like, "No, I don't think I really have." So I loaded that up yesterday, and I was having fun with it. But there's a thing in the main menu, like, that's like WB link or some weird nonsense. And I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And it's like, "Oh, we couldn't connect." I'm like, the game is 8 years fucking old. Of course you can't connect. What the hell was this? Was this important? I'll never know now. Like, why was this here? Why? I don't understand. I mean, I could still play the game. It didn't require that thing, but like, why are you doing that?
I think it was a service that allowed you to get cosmetics. I think, if I remember correctly, there was a thing for cosmetics in that one.
Oh boy.
Or maybe a different game. But you could use the connection thing to connect up and get that.
Oh, okay.
They did that with some of their other stuff too, like was it Shadow of Mordor? I think used that too.
Oh, really? That was another game I was recommended to try, but I've been enjoying Mad Max. It's difficult but satisfying. So I'll probably stick with that one for a while.
It's a fun game.
It doesn't have quite the same power fantasy level of Cyberpunk, at least not yet. I don't know if it will.
Fair,
but it's satisfying. Let's see, what is?
If I may,
Go ahead.
Something that I'd wanted to bring up, an experience I had was when I was in the middle of a presidential disaster area.
Oh, right.
And
so what happened with that, by the way? What was the disaster?
What happened was tornadoes struck the Chicago suburban area and resulted in a lot of flooding. This would it were that it were in the winter, because then there wouldn't have been flooding. But the tornadoes and coupling of the flooding knocked out power for a week. And the problem we had at the time, Fran and I were taking care of somebody who was terminally ill and needed oxygen. And of course, there's backup oxygen tanks. But when you're talking about for a week, fortunately, our neighbors, God bless Eric, who is still there, he went out and bought an industrial generator, and his house looked like an octopus. And it was enough at first just to hook up the oxygen machine. So that meant anything you wanted to play had to be in a battery. And so now there's Switch. And because of this experience, I've learned 2 lessons. First, Fran bought me something that I can charge the Switch with solar power, and it fit it in a backpack. And this is because of this experience. But also I have learned in buying games now that because of, like you said, it's like, this requires an internet connection. Really? Seriously? Why? Because I played one just the other day, and I said, well, I'm not playing. There's an offline. There was an online portion of this game, but I said, I'm not playing it online. And there was a way to bypass it. So now I have learned to check, and I have a few games that I wanted to bring up that I learned to play offline is Metroid Dread and Prime, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, the entire Bayonetta series, Pikmin 3 and 4, and Skyrim, that is absolutely on everything. And so now I check because of my experience in the disaster area, and about half to 3/4 of the way through the week, other neighbors bought generators, and so this meant Eric said we can have more power, and I said it means internet, yay! And so we had an internet connection because by then the cell towers were up, but still the main power didn't come on for a rock solid week. So unless you've got something battery backup for your computer, doesn't matter.
Now, it really brings up an interesting point about piracy. And I mean, this DRM thing is a lot about piracy, and a lot of online games. That's one of the reasons they go online, is like, oh, we don't want piracy. It's not really stopping piracy, is it? It's not like, it's really not deterring piracy at all, is it? Like, people are always finding a way around these things, aren't they?
In some
At
cases,
best, it's delaying.
Yeah.
It's delaying how much it can happen, but delaying doesn't stop.
No, like eventually you'll find a patch for it if you know where to look within like a few weeks to a month, where you can just be like, oh, don't need Steam for this anymore, Because there are smart people out there. I mean, say what you want about them. There are smart people out there figuring this stuff out. and all these are like, we don't want piracy. You're never going to stop piracy. You're never going to stop piracy. Ever. You're just going to make it worse. I don't know. I think, like, I try not to pirate games, but I there was a time in my life when I was broke, you know, and that's how I did it. I would, you know, I paid for the internet connection, then I would find a way to download the game. This was like in the early 2000s. A lot of games still came on disc back then. But people were cracking them even then. And I know that there are people cracking Steam games even now. Wait, what? Same people saying bad things about piracy are usually in favor of public libraries? I mean, shouldn't we all be in favor of public libraries? Aren't those a net benefit for people? Is public libraries? I don't know.
Well, I think the argument that that fits in with that is that one of them is a qualified public good, the other one is entitlement.
Oh, I see. I mean,
Plus, part of the problem in like videos and music is, and back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I got paid for writing about video games, I wrote one, and the graphic I did was a pair of blue jeans chained to the wall. And it says, you can buy the blue jeans, but you have to wear them here. And that's the problem with videos and some music is you can only, you don't, it's not really yours. You can't take it and play it someplace else if they, for example, as has happened to me, all of a sudden Apple takes this music offline. That was it. I lost the whole music library that way. And so that is one of the big things with me as well with DRM. You know, this is why if I have a choice, I'll buy a DVD over a digital copy any day.
Well, Julie, you just bring up something that recently was announced, which is that PlayStation Network is erasing, and this is the total number here, okay, 1,318 seasons of Discovery shows from the libraries of customers who bought them.
oh, what?
Digitally.
Son of a biscuit.
Yeah.
What?
That came up on my news news feed a short while ago. And that's my big concern now is if I buy a game, I used to buy something for Switch and I'd say, well, I can always download it again. And when something like this happened, and the guy that paid $25,000 to buy every game on
3DS, yeah.
Yeah, 3DS, thank you. So now I've got this. Unfortunately, those Switches made to address a 2 terabytes. The micro SD card for 2 terabytes, to my understanding, isn't made, just 1.5. So now, if I haven't got a hard copy or I can't download it on my 1 terabyte micro SD card, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I download pretty much everything too. Yeah.
Well, with those shows on PlayStation Network, those over 1,300 seasons, not shows, seasons worth of shows that are being removed. They're being removed from people who bought them digitally. So you don't technically own it if you buy it digitally. You license it.
Yeah, I know.
And
it's the same with all our games, though. You know, on Steam or whatever. That's true. It's just
right.
Doesn't happen as often. But yeah, that's
right.
scary.
Yeah, it's a matter of, well, if the rights holder wants to remove it from sale, they can remove it from sale. And although Steam has promised that if a game goes offline completely, that it gets deleted from the store, you don't necessarily lose it from your library.
Right. Which happens.
They can't stop it if they can't stop it if it has a online element. If the servers go offline, they can't really do anything about that, but that is a thing that can happen if it's something that has an online service component to it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why with media, like movies and TV shows, I always tell people, if you really love something, buy it on disc. Don't get a digital copy. Don't wait for it to stream. Get a physical copy. Because you never know. Like, look what happened to Star Trek Prodigy. For God's sakes. What a freaking mess that is.
Yeah, that's a great example, and there are other examples too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like the Batwoman movie that no one will ever see now, apparently.
Well,
there's another example, The Expanse. When The Expanse was originally canceled by Sci-Fi Channel, part of the dispute was over the streaming rights, that they didn't want to pay for all of the streaming rights on that, so they canceled it. And then Jeff Bezos, being a huge fan of The Expanse, actually saved The Expanse. He actually intervened directly to save it because he was a big fan, and he wanted the show to be an Amazon show to begin with. So
where was Jeff Bezos when Space Above and Beyond was canceled? That's my question.
Not in a position to save it.
God damn it!
Well,
Son of a bitch.
In Steam's favor here, I wanted to bring up the Transformers games because I'm a big mech fan. And they all got pulled from Steam, right? But you can still download it again if you paid for it. And what is more, if you go over to Amazon and get a code for it, download code, Steam will still honor the code.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Because those are already paid for in the wild, so to speak. So, in theory, if you can obtain a working key, now it doesn't always work, but Waxmas, you just asked why the last season of The Expanse are on Blu-ray. They are on Blu-ray. In fact, my copy just arrived within the last week. There is a box set of all 6 seasons, and I pre-ordered it. I got it. So they are on Blu-ray.
Nice. Oh, yeah, it's just frustrating because it feels like this is kind of an extension of what we're talking about. Like, it feels like we could lose access to our content at any time so often nowadays, which is really, really, really frustrating. It kind of ties into the game preservation stuff we were talking about earlier. But here it's like, even if the stuff isn't like removed or lost, sometimes we don't have access to it because it has some online only nonsense. And I guess the bigger question is, what do we actually own anymore? Is the answer nothing?
Well, as unlikely as people may think that Steam will ever go under, you never know, do you? Because what happens if it does go online? I don't know about you, but my library, I haven't got enough terabytes on my computer to download everything, and I got a lot of terabytes.
Oh my God.
So if Steam ever goes down, there's a lot of games I'm going to lose. So it's like, well, download my favorites for that very reason. So.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, I don't think it ever. I think the only thing that would take down Steam is World War III at this point. Like, I don't think Steam is going anywhere, but I think that is more a concern with GOG, like, because they felt like they've been on shaky ground for a little while now, you know.
Well, what came out recently with the lawsuit between Epic and Apple, all the money because that Epic has spent on trying to get, because of paying developers a higher percentage, is, at least according to the Epic executives, is that the Epic Store actually hasn't made any money whatsoever. So the concept of Epic going away is not beyond the realm of possibility.
God, you're right. Because
And this is why my Epic library is mostly their free giveaway games.
The last game I bought on Epic was Star Trek Resurgence. That's how long it's been since I bought a game on there. But I do snag the free games that they've made available whenever I see them. And I still play games on there. I just don't play as many as I do via Steam.
right. Yeah.
In my recent case, they gave away all the Batman Arkham games, and what they sometimes do now, what they did with Switch, is the developer said, "Oh, the Arkham trilogy is going to be in a cartridge," but unless you do your research, if you do, you'll find out only the first game is actually on the cartridge, and all the rest have to be downloaded. So why buy the cartridge? Not everybody is as generous as the people who do some of these games, like The Witcher 3, where they did actually go to the extra expense to put the whole thing. So I've learned the hard way: do your research before you buy anything.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? I don't know. It's just frustrating, I guess, because like, what do we do if we want to play a game that you can't buy anymore? Like, do you find a code somewhere? If you're lucky, you find a physical copy somewhere, maybe.
You find somebody who can turn the disk you still have in your safe into a ROM and put it on your phone.
Yeah, and really, you bring up abandonware, but that's legally gray. You know, we can't really promote. We can't really officially promote. Like, I feel like even talking about it now is a little like,
Well, yeah, we shouldn't, because it puts us in a
like we can't.
It puts us in a position of sounded like we are endorsing.
No, we are,
and that's not really.
We do not. We do not. Let's be clear. We do not officially endorse abandonware because it's a very legally gray area that we can't support. So, yeah, the rights owner can go after you. A lot of them probably won't, because it's so old. You know, who cares? But
also consider we have so many devs in our community.
Yeah.
It's sort of it's hypocritical for us to suggest that it would be an option. So
yeah,
that's why we don't go there.
We don't go there, at least not publicly.
No, I mean, not even that. It's just it's a conflict of interest for us.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Literally
really.
A conflict of interest.
I get it. Really, it's just that we can't even really talk about it without. We have to be very clear if we bring up abandonware that we do not in any way endorse it. Because you could talk about it. You're a private individual. You could talk about it all you want. We can't. So if you want to talk about it, go ahead. We just can't. But like in some ways, that's the only way to get some stuff anymore. Like I'm reminded, like Julie just reminded me of those Transformers games that were
delisted.
They were delisted from sale because of licensing rights.
Yeah. And I'm looking for one of them, Transformers Devastation, which I think was on PC, and I cannot find it anywhere. Not the PC copy, anyway. If I want to buy a physical copy for the PlayStation 3, I can.
David already mentioned two of them that are no longer available on Steam, and that's The War for Cybertron and The Fall of Cybertron. And
which were really fun games.
They are. I've got the War for Cybertron, but
Oh,
I had the problem with Fall of Cybertron is I had the hard copy, and it says its DRM is go out and check the hard copy. I don't have the hard copy anymore.
oh no.
And so I can't play it anymore, and it's delisted, so I can't get it anymore.
Oh no. What a mess. Yeah, it is dangerous, really. That's why we're trying to be careful. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's a first world problem. It's hard being a gamer sometimes, but like, this is what makes it difficult. This is why a lot of gamers are whiny little entitled pricks, and most of the time it's without merit. But there's these little slivers, like this DRM stuff, where, oh yeah, I feel complaining about this is justified. Little tiny bits where it's like, okay, you got me there. But that's like 0.1% of the time. Gamers are right about a thing.
Something broken clock.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God, I've been following this thread about, I'm just going to side note here. And the Angels Fall First devs said like 3 or 4 months ago, something big is coming and you'll see it in a couple of months. As soon as a couple of months came and went, oh my God, the sheer fucking hubris, the entitlement. Oh my God. It's so like, just shut up. Just shut up, all of you. Just please shut up. But yeah,
I think some people just don't realize what's happening in the industry right now. And there have been so many layoffs.
oh,
The global economy is in a lot of places where they normally would have public funding available for developers to get assistance. That's not happening right now because of the global economy. And it gets a little bit worse because of all the layoffs that have been happening across the industry, even just yesterday. League of Geeks, the developers of Armello and the more recently released Jumplight Odyssey, they ended up having several investment deals fall through one after another.
Yeah.
And because of that, they had to indefinitely postpone any sort of development on Jumplight Odyssey.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they let off they let go over half of their staff.
Yeah.
I'm very sad about that because Jumplight Odyssey was one of the games I was most excited about.
Yeah.
And now they decided to switch focus onto their next game, which is coming out in a couple of months.
Solum Inferium or something like that. Infernum.
Yeah, Solum Infernum. They realized that they had to make a tough choice. Either put focus onto their next game and try to get that out there in 2 months, or basically shut down the studio because Jumplight Odyssey was going to take about 6 to, and it would cost a lot more, and they just didn't have the funding. So I can understand why they had to make that choice. It's not an easy thing to even think about.
Yeah.
But there were some gamers who were not happy with the team. And
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I saw
not very pleasant about it.
It scares me though, because you bring up all the layoffs. This is just a side note. Like, a lot of developers we know and talk to and whatnot, like, video gaming isn't their primary job. Game development isn't their primary job. And like, a lot of them are losing their jobs. So like, this is going to affect us not now, but maybe in a year or two. going to be like,
Yeah.
It's going to be like, hey, why did only 2 games come out on Steam today? Oh, because people left.
There's a lot.
People left game development because I feel for any game developer. Ever, like right now or ever. Like Brian Raff, good point. I've seen a lot of games ruined by bad fandoms. Holy crap, that could be a whole nother. It's a really.
Let's just talk about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw for a moment.
Okay, you talk about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. I'm going to talk about Longbow 2. I'm going to go back a little further and talk about Jane's Longbow 2. People who drove Andy Hollis, who worked on F-19 Stealth Fighter and F-15 Strike Eagle 3, a legend. He was driven out of making flight sims because of the fans, quote unquote. I'm still mad. 20 plus years later, I'm still mad. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. He left entirely. He left gaming entirely. And is now doing. I mean, he's finding great success in voice work and his own books, which is great. But like, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw deserved so much more than it ultimately ended up getting because of quote unquote fans. It's just. And then part of me thinks maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
You know, I was going to say that in regards to that, a lot of that ends up being a combination of, with RGO at least, it was a combination of people that were upset that it was on Epic, that it was one of the first games that was Epic exclusive, and therefore, because it wasn't on Steam, there were people who thought that they were entitled to have it on Steam, and they weren't going to buy it because it happened to be an Epic exclusive. But keep in mind, it was one of the very first games to be an Epic exclusive, and it was before the store was even announced that deal was inked. So they had nothing to do with the blowback of the way that the store was when it launched. The condition that it was in when the store was launched, they had nothing to do with that. But because they were in that first wave of Epic exclusives, not only did the money actually provide for the studio to make the game in the first place, because game development is expensive, but also they ended up getting a lot of that flack over the state of the store, which, how could they have had anything to do with that? Really? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. But the hubris of some people.
Oh, we should start wrapping up. We've gotten really off track, but that's okay because it's a conversation. So I guess I want to wrap up by saying my heart goes out to anyone thinking of either in-game development or getting into game development, because it can't be easy. It just can't be. And there's so much competition, and it's hard to get visibility, and then you make no money off of your effort because there's so many other games people are buying. It's just
just ask us when we launched within 2 weeks of a Steam sale. Oh. Yeah, we got buried.
Wait, which game? Quintet?
When we launched Quintet, yeah. When we launched Quintet, Steam sale happened 2 weeks later. We got completely buried.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, Starfleet 2 launched not too far ahead of a Steam sale, and it didn't help. Certainly didn't help. But yeah. So game developers, we love you. We respect you. We hope you keep doing what you're doing because we love the games you play, but we understand it's tough. We understand it's tough. And we've seen some people just leave game, like not just Travis, but what's the name of the guy who made Helium Rain? what was his name?
Stranger.
Yeah. He bowed out of gaming entirely. Because he got so burnt out and frustrated by the whole experience. And I'm honestly surprised it's not happening more.
Well, it is. You're just not hearing about it.
We're just not hearing about it. Yeah, we're not seeing it because we're in our own little bubble here, I guess. Anyway, so folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. This is we kind of went fairly far afield with what we talked about today, but we had a good time talking about it, and we hope you did too. Next week on the show, we are going to talk about, because we're coming up on winter sale season, so we're going to talk about some games we feel you should keep an eye out for on the upcoming, not only Steam sales, but like other places, because a lot of places now have better deals than Steam. You just got to know where to look for them. So we'll also tell you about the tools we use to find the best deals, because there's no reason not to buy a game if it's not at its historic low anymore. No reason whatsoever. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about next week. And like I said, tomorrow we're going to be playing this thing called Hazer and Starship. I have no idea what's in store for me with that one.
Good luck with that one.
Thank you. I think I'm going to need it. And thank you, Chad. Had a great chat. Really? Yeah, that was going to be the original topic, but we kind of went askew from that. So maybe that'll be another show, is which specific games we can recommend. Like Rebel Galaxy Outlaw came up, Starfleet 2 came up, those two at the very least. Oh, and the one that's we're streaming today, the one that's in the background today, Pioneer Space Sim, is also a great one to have on hand if you don't have an internet connection, because that one doesn't require any internet at all, and you can play that one for years.
We can maybe revisit it in a month or so. Yeah,
we can revisit this. We can revisit the original version of the topic in a month or so. But I'm glad we went a little bit afield from. I'm glad we broadened it. It turned out being a fun thing to talk about. But yeah, that's going to do it for today, friend. Today, right? Yes. Have a great day, everyone. Be safe, be well, take care of each other. Please get vaccinated. Oh yeah, Spaceborne 2 is another good one. Please get vaccinated if you haven't already. We're still in a pandemic, even though people would like to pretend that we're not. And please get all your shots, your flu shots, everything, because we live in a society. And if we try to prevent ourselves from getting sick, we'll also prevent the spread of other people getting sick. So for God's sakes, please get all your shots. And thank you, as always, to our patrons who literally keep the lights on around here. And with that, we'll see you back here tomorrow for Hazer and Starship. Yeah, I can never remember the name. I keep wanting to say Shades of Hazerin because that was the older game, but no, it's Hazer and Starship now. Have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you